Hello everyone, this is an update to the Crit Hex Plus Blood Mage guide, and there are a few things skill-wise that I have changed, and I've also upgraded a lot of my gear, and gotten quite a few level points, but the core of the build remains the same, so I'll quickly show the gear upgrades I've made. I'll mouse over them real quick. It's mostly just life resist and more energy shield. And I did upgrade the Doji's Damning for maximum elemental resist. So, it's a little bit of an upgrade there. And the main upgrade actually comes from the wand. So my wand here has 6 damaging mods now. The last one, I think I still have it here somewhere. So yeah, this was the last one. I think 10 exalts is a bit much for it, but yeah. The last one had 4 damaging mods, and it is about a 25% damage increase from the old one. That's pretty nice. But we do lose the mana, which I'll talk about later. But I will note here though that someone mentioned in Reddit comments that the mod gain percent of damage as extra cold or lightning or any elemental is not as good as it seems, because it doesn't work as it used to in PoE1. It only scales off the base damage, not the total damage. So kind of the opposite of how it used to work. So I'll just show quickly my Hex Plus tooltip that the chaos damage is 4.4k, the lightning is 480. It's about 11 or 12%. But my wand actually gives me 27% of damage as extra lightning. So it's just not functioning as you would expect it to. So the mod is about only 40 to 50% as effective of a damage mod as you would expect it to be, depending on how much percent chaos damage scaling you have, since it won't scale the lightning damage portion anymore. Yeah. It's still an okay mod, but I think generic spell damage and generic chaos damage are just superior prefixes at this point. Although it is the suffixes that are more important. You can see like the suffix mods are really good. I think plus 4 to all gems, or plus 4 to chaos spell skills, crit chance, cast speed, and crit bonus. Get 3 of those suffixes and get like whatever prefixes you can, and your wand will be good. So focus more on the suffixes and the prefixes. Yeah. Damage as extra is just not as highly valued as I thought it would be. That's it for the gear. The core remains the same. The amulet and the scepter. You need to reach these breakpoints. I will talk about the scepter a little bit after I talk about the skills. So I've made quite a few changes to the skills. Firstly, I've dropped cast on Freeze Hex Blast. Now this is for different reasons than you might think. The trigger nerfs actually did not impact how this build played with Cast on Freeze at all, because based on the energy thresholds for Hex Blast, you would still trigger a Hex Blast once every freeze on rares and bosses. So in our case, we were using Cast on Freeze Hex Blast as a single target supplement, so it continued to serve its purpose properly. But the problem I began to have with Hex Blast on Cast on Freeze was in high tier maps, the freeze threshold on bosses became like so high oftentimes. I would only trigger maybe 1 or 0 even freezes on the boss throughout the entire fight. And obviously this isn't good, since this is our single target supplement and it's kind of doing nothing. Like 1 Hex Blast per boss fight is pretty much nothing. And I didn't really want to build into any freeze build up, because it's not worth it. Like 1 freeze versus 2 freezes on bosses, it's not really any different. So what I did instead is I dropped Cast on Freeze, and with the 60 Spirit, I now have 3 Skeletal Clerics. These cost 20 Spirit each. You only actually need 2 of these, but 3 is a little nicer. So your Scepter, you can actually lower the requirements. Either get 20 less Spirit on your Amulet, or get a bit less Spirit on your Scepter. And 2 Skeletal Clerics is enough. But with these up, I have them linked to Meat Shield, just to keep them alive a bit longer. Minion Mastery for more HP, and Elemental Army for more survivability. With these clerics up, what it allows me to do is use Soul Offering. And I have Soul Offering here, linked with Ablation for more offering effect. Sacrifices our life, which is fine. Dance Macabre for more offering effect. This needs 2 skeletons now, so that's why I said you need at least 2 skeletal clerics. If you really want, you could just use 1, but in that case, you might as well just use a skeletal warrior. Because the reason I'm using clerics is that they help keep each other alive. It doesn't really show now, but during mapping, if they die, one will revive the other, and so on and so forth. And the last offering link is Persistence, to make the offering last longer. And you can see this base gives me 37% more spell damage, but with all these buffs up, it gives me about 60% nearly. So you can see 31k goes up to about 50k. So yeah, 20 of 31, nearly 60%. Nearly 66, sorry. So it's about 60% actually. The offering lasts for 10 seconds, but this does require skill duration investment. Without any, it's about 5 or 6, and it doesn't feel good at all. At 10, I think it's reasonable enough, and it starts to feel good to play with. You can see in the mapping showcase I'll add later that I actually click it quite often during maps as well. Now that we have skill duration investment, our wither stacks are easier to maintain. And with Soul Offering being an extra button to click, I just dropped the effigy totem. I think the totem was pretty bad anyways. It only targeted enemies that you applied Essence Drain on first, and it felt really clunky to play with. But because of that, I've now moved Withering Touch to Chaos Bot, and the build does feel a lot smoother to play with. We still are using Essence Drain for the freeze, simply because the freeze is still good utility. Like, if you freeze the boss once, you can just sit there and spam Hex Blast as it's just really nice. Or Chaos Bolt if you're low on HP. And I think that is it for the skill gems and gear update. Yeah, nothing else has really changed. I did get a 5th link on Hex Blast, which is Inspiration here. I don't think anything else can be socketed at the moment because of how high the health and mana costs are right now. There is an option now that you're using clerics or any kind of minions to use. I think it's called Minion Offering. Sorry, Minion Pact. Yeah. But I can't sustain like my minion health on this right now because it costs too much. And it doesn't even cost if the minions have less health than you. So I'll try and think of a way to fit this in later. But as of right now, I can't. So it would be nice if you could. It's a 40% more damage gem with no other downside. But this gem feels really, really clunky to play with. I did test it a few times earlier, but you probably need minions that are not clerics with more max health to use Minion Pact. And then use clerics to try and heal them. But I'm not using this right now. Maybe if someone can think of a way to fit it in. I can't for now. So for the tree, I mentioned we need skill duration investment. It's not much. It's literally just this one wheel. It's very efficient wheel. So I'm pretty happy about it as well. Earlier I didn't want to click this because the chaos damage increase is pretty low compared to the other ones. You can see here 53, 29 with minus chaos res. These are 11% with, this is just 11% more damage pretty much. And the wither nodes. So these were not that efficient earlier, but now that I need duration, they're good nodes. With my extra points, I have a bit in mana regen here, and I finished allocating Wither away. That's pretty much it. Nothing else on the tree has changed. I did mention about pathing on the right side through the energy shield here. I tried this. It's about 500 more ES, but I don't think it's worth trading off these damage nodes at the present time, because these nodes give me about 15% more damage, which is a lot. I also have Mental Toughness allocated on my amulet here. This helps with mana. It's the cheaper mana option. It costs about 20 something exalts for this. I think it's the fear emotion that's expensive. The best endgame Annoy is Aspiring Genius, and it's not even close. This gives 40% mana regen when Arcane Surge is up and 10% more cast speed. We should be able to sustain this pretty easily because we're critting like 70-80% of the time. This is expensive though. It's like 60 something results. I can't afford this. before I upgraded my wand, I was actually using this node over here, Vulgar Methods. So this is a really powerful node, but it reduces your max mana, which reduces your mana regen. And my last wand had max mana on it, so it felt okay to play with. But now that I don't, I'm having mana problems, so I'd rather allocate a mana node, because if you can't cast, then you might as well have no damage. But this is also a really cheap node. It's like 2 exalts or 3 maybe. So as a budget option, it's really good if you can sustain the mana cost. For the Ascendancy, I haven't done my 4th point yet. I tried a 4th Force Sanctum, but I died on the last boss. The last boss is ridiculously tanky for some reason. Like the 3rd is like I shredded it, and the last one is just stupid. And this build honestly struggles really hard with that boss because of how long the boss fight is. I actually ran out of health and not honor while trying to fight it, which is pretty sad. That being said, when I do get my 4th point, I might try Vitality Siphon, now that it's been buffed and people are saying that it feels okay to play with. Hopefully, like, this would fix the single target sustain issue. Otherwise, it probably is still just Grasping Wounds as planned, because this is it makes it a lot tankier during mapping. Yeah, I think that is it for the update. I will end the video with a T15 mapping showcase with a boss as well, I think. Thanks for watching.